Hello, listeners. We are Mina and Emily, and welcome to another episode of The Dark Side of Social Media. Today, we're going to talk about the case of Takahiro Shiraishi, also known as the Twitter murder. You may have heard of this criminal case before, but first, we're going to answer one of your questions. Do you want to start, Emily?
Of course. The question is, what is your favorite criminal case? I personally like Jack the Ripper because it's interesting that the police never found out who he was, and the multiple theories around this case are very impressive.
Wow! I also really like it, but my favorite is the Zodiac Killer. Actually, I've seen the movie. I think it's great.
Wow, you have a great taste for crime stories. Now, let's start with the story of Takahiro Shiraishi. This case shocked Japan because they have a low crime rate. Takahiro Shiraishi was born in 1990, and those who knew him said that he was a pretty normal kid until 2017, between the end of August and October.
In just 2 months, he killed 9 people. Before he became a murderer, he started going after prostitutes in a club where he used to work, and that's where he learned a few illegal tricks.
His modus operandi was to create a Twitter account where he pretended to help suicidal people by inviting them to his house to hang out and talk about the problem. His strategy consisted in manipulating, abusing, murdering, and then dismembering his victims.
To do this, he used scissors, knives, and saw and woodworking tools. He also had fridge and toolboxes where he could find the bodies. And he used a cat litter to camouflage the horrible smell. After his arrest, the police find out 240 pieces of human remains. However, the identity of the victims is still a mystery.
But we know that there were 8 women, 1 man, aged between 15 and 26. In his trial, he pleaded guilty and declared that he liked the concept of suicide and that he was just helping people out of their misery by killing them. The jury was really not convinced, and Takahiro was sentenced to death.
And that's the story of today's killer.
This episode teaches that we have to be very careful about who we talk to on social media, because they're not always who they pretend they are.
Yes, that's why this case is part of the dark side of social media. Emily, what are your thoughts about Takahiro?
I think that it's a terrible case of abuse and murder. This man was completely crazy because he pretended that he was helping his victims. And you, Mina, what are your opinions?
I agree. He was out of his mind. I never heard anything like that.
And you, dear listeners, please let us know your opinion about this creepy case in the comments.
We are so grateful for the continued support of Nivea. If you want to learn about the new creams or products, just visit their website nivea.com.